Fuck. My bad. Well, Rip Bozo, I guess. Never mind, dude. I don't want to say it anymore. Now I'm ashamed. I just want to go. I just want to crawl into a hole. I don't want to add Chaska Glorp. I'm sorry. It's not a good. It's not a good emote. Or your glasses. Fine. Maybe that's why I didn't see that my mic was muted, because I didn't have my glasses. Are you happy now? I've got my fucking glasses on. You happy? Je sais vraiment pas quoi faire. Justement réfléchir.
Money.
Aranea boots. Crazy. Crazy. Anyways, for those of you that are interested, OSRS Progress is kind of kicking my ass right now. I'm now at 53 million Slayer XP. I've seen 4 Eternal Gems, still no heart. I'll get it. I'll get it. It's looking like it's gonna be a fucking 100-hour grind, but like whatever, man. As long as I get it, that's all that matters. Être seul c'est difficile, et là ça fait des années. Et de juger c'est facile, surtout quand on n'y a pas goût. Le plus dur, c'était la première fois, puis le plus dur, c'est de savoir ce sera la dernière fois. Large content, humongous entertainment, massive fun, kloogie. Why are you kloogieing my true and accurate statement? You wanna catch these hands? I'll beat you up. I'll beat you the fuck up. Banned. Après tout ce qu'elle a fait pour eux. Exercise redeemed. Dude, I'm dead from my morning burpees. I did 20 burpees this morning. Frick you. You got the headphone hair? Yeah. Maybe a longer cooldown for the redeems? No, it's fine. Quitter talk, true. When our squad's gonna be available? Never. I'll never squat again. No, but I don't know if my legs can take squats after those burpees, man. Is it Lanyon pre-release day? That's an interesting idea. I got a superior spawn. Is it gonna be an eternal heart? 1 out of 40. Come on, I believe. 1 out of 40 for my fucking suffering to be over. Let's zoom in. It's gonna spawn right here. Eternal Heart. No. Okay. Not Eternal Heart. Imbued Heart. Whatever. If I got an Eternal Ring because of that, I would have been mad. Holy! I tried. I tried to manifest it, but it didn't work. Need to insult chat to get good pieces. Chat, you're fucking ugly, stupid, and worthless. Honestly, your parents probably regret giving birth to you. Okay, it didn't work. Sorry. Maybe that was a little far.
Slayer task completed.
Alright. Straight for the throat, huh? Yeah. Who knows? Maybe if I keep insulting you guys, it's gonna work. Perhaps. Chat, you have the personality of a shonen manhwa protagonist, but the capabilities of a worthless, evil stepbrother that bullies the hero. You... Maybe if you're nice to chat, you get something. The thing is, I don't think I can do that. Chat, you're so completely and utterly unlikable that even if I know I'm lying, I can't bring myself to say nice things about you. That's messed up. I mean, is it? I don't think you have the intellectual capacity to understand and process the words I'm saying, because you're just such an idiot. Is it really that mean, then? For me to insult you if you don't even understand that you're being insulted? Okay, you know what? It didn't work. I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry, chat. I didn't mean it. I hope a fly falls into your ramen and adds the 0.36 calories to it. I'm pretty sure a fly would be more than 0.36 calories. You can't even do basic math on top of it, all fucking idiot. Sorry. 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 You're making it too easy, Chad. It's not my fault. Okay, it's not. It's not. TC flight. How many calories in a fly? I don't want AI overview. Wait, I'm not talking about house flies, idiot. Oh my god. Whatever. I can't be bothered. Anyways, let's do the best part of the stream, the moment you've all been waiting for. Yes, sir, it's time to stare! Pound! Zilch! Glade! Blade! It was bald all along! Holy shit, that's crazy. Oh, it's a MIDI. Okay. Zap with a beam of light. Winter solstice. Century. I don't know who the fuck Jimmy Carter is. Roll with it. Serval. You can fight it or roll with it. True. Like each day relative to the day before? For the next 6 months? Wait, what? Shut. Eugene V. Blank, 5-time presidential candidate for the Socialist Party of... First blank on a form? Maybe. Unwanted crawler on a kitchen counter. Ant. Prepares for a test. Studies. More spooky. Everything cool between us? We good? Some loaves of bread or a homophone for what they do in the oven. Rise. Astronomer Carl. Spy organization and Bridge of Spies. No clue. Zap with a beam of light. "100 years for Jimmy Carter." Age? Perhaps? Roll with it, die? Sports newbie. Like each day relative to the day before it. Maybe it's KGB. Perhaps. Rookies? The longer? Because it's the winter solstice today? Okay, dude. That's fucked up. First blank on a... What the... I gotta look at my keyboard at each letter. Oh, eerier! Is lays a word? You guys think lays is a word? Line 1? That's crazy. That's crazy. Lays is a real word. What the fuck? Okay. Band! Slay, baloney, pan, bunk, grouch, circle, canopy, crock, oh, statuette, pot, ring, pot, hot pot, ring, Murphy, casserole, hoop. This has to be a fucking red herring, right? Maybe circle isn't in? No. I don't know how else to link O to anything else. Maybe it's band, like a rubber band. I'm gonna... Grouch. Bunk. Pan. Pot. Canopy. What the fuck is a canopy? I feel like I know this word. But I don't. I've heard this word. Isn't that the name of the... Yeah, it is. But I don't know what it means. I just know I've seen it before. Baloney. That's baloney. That's crock. No. A casserole. The fuck is Murphy doing here, man? Murphy. Croc. Maybe that's something people say when they're angry. Oh, croc. Oh, baloney. No. Can't be. Oh? Oh? What the fuck would the last one be? Oh, pots. Oh. Oh, grouch? Perhaps? Oh, dude, I don't know. I don't think we'll get it. What? Okay, so we're actually one. Okay, maybe it's not O. Oh, pot. I don't know. I'm giving up, man. What was it, dude? Cooking vessels. I've never heard of a crock before. Types of bed. Things called Oscar. Okay, these I get. That is, I have no idea. Oh, a crock pot. I see. Is it just me, or have connections been getting harder lately? Or maybe my brain is just getting dumber. But I feel like connections have been getting harder lately. They've been power creeping the connections. Requires a lot more special American knowledge, IMO. What the fuck is Oscar bologna? Is Oscar a brand of bologna in America or something? Yes? How the fuck am I supposed to know that, man? Like, you aren't. Yeah, pretty much, dude. Oh well. Kaya. Huh. Shh. You hear that? Oh no! It's a run! It's a ghost! It's a run. Okay. It's not Hu Tao? What? Okay, I'm focusing too much on the ghost. Who would behave like this? Who's incredibly immature and an idiot? Yuh. Yuh. That's Raiden's skill. We're speedrunning, chat. Blade. Hold! After ratio. Before ratio. Fuck. Argentine? Before Argentine. Let's try a Lofu character, maybe. Which one? It is a Lofu character, not released in 1.4. Who was released a patch after Fuchuan? That was a patch I wasn't playing, so it might be Gwynaifen. Could it be Gwynaifen? Yeah. Nice. You're online today, too? I don't know who that is. What is that? I have no clue. I'll guess at random. Cloud Lancer Art Torrent. Huh. I was like, who's a Wind Lancer? Oh. Ben! It wasn't Ben. It's fucked up. Victoria Housekeeping. So it's either Grace or... Who's the other one in Victoria Housekeeping? Or no, it's not Corin, so it is Grace. Wait, it's not Grace? Wait, it's not Grace. Her name isn't Grace. It's Rena. I always confuse the two, okay? In my brain, they're the same character, okay? In my brain, these two are the same character. I don't know why. Whatever. They're the standard lightning character, okay? Like shut up. Yeah. How could you forget furry? I didn't forget furry. It just wasn't furry because it wasn't ice. Idiot. Latest Saluna video could be interesting to watch / discuss on stream. Sure, we can do that. Saluna Toronto. That's not... Looking for a trendy and cozy rooftop patio restaurant in Toronto? Huh. How good are C0 4 stars?
Well, today I want to have a conversation.
Okay, wait. Let's actually answer that question first, okay? All right, let's look at C0 4 stars. So let's first put all of the 4 stars separated from the rest. Okay. Yep. It was an accident, but like, yeah, sure, he is above the rest. That is true. Let me know if I missed someone, by the way. I'm kind of trying to go fast. Do we count Alloy? No. I guess I might as well have Lanio though. Did I miss anyone? I don't think so, but... Albedo, haha, good one. Okay, so... I think the like most important thing here is to properly define our criteria. What sort of teams are you assuming for these characters? Are you assuming the other 4 stars are C0 as well? Are you assuming there's no 5 stars available? Like, what exactly are we doing? And because of that, obviously there's going to be a lot of subjectivity involved. Personally, I think that there's only a point to this when it comes to looking at their value on an account that doesn't have too much available to them. 5 stars can be available, but not a full team of other 5-star characters. So, like, for example, C0 Farazan wouldn't be looked at in a Xiao Xianyun Farina team. So, I guess the first thing to get out of the way is Bennett. Bennett is one of the characters that gains the least from his constellations. It's not that he doesn't gain anything, it's that he is still incredible at what he's good at, even without any of them. Is C1 though? The C1 is nice, the C5 is nice, but they're just a little bit more attack. People heavily overestimate the value of those constellations. Bennett is one of the characters, if not the character that, well, maybe not the, but definitely one of the characters that gains the least from his constellations. It's just that he's so good at C0 that a minor upgrade to a really strong character is often going to matter more than a major upgrade to a shitty character that's still going to be shitty post-upgrade. Alhaitham is probably the character who gains the least with cons. That's not true. Alhaitham gains a lot more from cons than Bennett. It's important to realize that they're 5-star cons, so they're a lot more expensive. The return on investment is lower, but the return is higher. Anyways, Bennett, honestly, in a category of his own. Then it's gonna be the really strong supports that don't gain too much from constellations, right? That kind of have constellations similar to those of Bennett, but that aren't as good as Bennett. So, Sucrose. Where the fuck is that bitch? There she is. Heureuse. Lanyan. Kuki. Not Tsingtao, no. Tsingtao may be in this category, but he wouldn't fit that same description. Right? Tsingtao is not a character that doesn't gain much from constellations. Tsingtao gains a lot from his constellations. He's already strong at C0, but the difference between C0 and C6 is massive. Right? When you're comparing C0 Tsingtao to other 4 stars, he's not as dominant as he is at C6. But let's talk about him. The main thing with Tsingtao is that more and more characters get released that don't really need him or work that well with him. And what makes Tsingtao so good as a general rule is that you don't have to sacrifice a lot of damage in order to get an incredibly large amount of utility. At C0, though, you do have to sacrifice a large amount of damage, because his personal damage is a lot lower. And new characters have been getting so tailored to specific supports and not tailored towards the vape reaction through normal attacks in a way that hasn't made the utility that Xingqiu provides as necessary. Does that mean that Xingqiu is bad? Far from it. Xingqiu is still one of the better 4-stars at C0, but he's not on the same level as Bennett. Because Bennett is just... Xingqiu just gains so much more from his cons. I do think it's worth mentioning that if you're looking at, like, max investment stuff, you will probably see higher team DPS gain from getting Bennett's constellations in Bennett teams than getting Xingqiu's constellations in Xingqiu teams, because at really high investment, Bennett constellations don't increase Bennett's damage, they increase your carry's damage, and if your carry's hyper invested, that matters a lot more. Is Lanyan that good? Lanyan is a character that has kind of worthless constellations. And she's a TTDS animal unit that also provides you defensive utility. C2 is nice for the defensive utility, but it doesn't help you offensively. Isn't Fischl an S tier C0 4-star? Her A4 is just that good. The thing about Fischl is that you also have to understand that the C6 also improves the A4. Because the C6 gives you 20% more uptime. That's 20% more uptime on Fischl's ability to proc her A4 as well. On top of the additional Oz hits and the like normal attack hits. I don't think I'd put Fischl on the same tier as these characters if you're looking at C0 only. I think Xingqiu is good enough to be in here. And they're not ordered within the tiers, by the way. I'm not gonna bother doing that. But I don't think Fischl is. I think Fischl would be here. Yeah, especially with the fucking bullshit they keep adding. They keep adding, like, non-damage mechanics. Like, for example, the most recent Papilla enemy, right? The Papilla Tenebrous boss. Fischl's C6 is pretty much necessary for it in a lot of teams. I'll talk about it a lot more once I get around to recording the meta roundup, but because the Papilla shield isn't elemental application, it's elemental hits, it means that stuff with weird ICD can still shred the shield as long as it hits often, right? So characters like Kuki, Amber, right, with bursts that hit a lot but don't have, like, insane ICD, shred the fuck out of the shield. That also works on Fischl's C6. And because of that, Fischl's C6 is pretty much necessary for Sugar's teams to be able to clear that shield in time. It's not actually, like, straight up necessary, but almost. Anyways, Fischl would be here. What other characters would be here? I do think Xiangling is here. As much as Xiangling is a character that is significantly worse without C4, she is still good enough without it to be here, I think. Yao Yao would be here, I think. Lynette would be here. Cole would be here. I'm a Cole hater, but as long as you're willing to deal with the fucking clunk, she's not that bad. Hazo would be here. Where would Auron be? Auron would probably be here as well. Cinder City is too good. Yeah, Cinder City is really good. I could see Auron going up here when we start getting teams that actually want him, right? Like, if you look at the teams where Auron is played right now, you've got Chaska, obviously, but, like, Chaska teams aren't really complete right now. Citlali is going to be a lot better of an option for Chaska, and Citlali doesn't really allow you to have Electro characters on the team, right? So Auron's going to kind of get pushed out of Chaska teams, at least the best ones. And what other teams is Auron good on? Electrocharge teams? He's not good enough to, like, make Electrocharge a good archetype. And so he's just, I don't know, a thing you can play. Like, Electrocharge has its value, obviously, but, like, in terms of just damage output, it's not really good enough in most situations. And Auron isn't actually good enough to change that. And so the teams where he sees play right now is, like, ChesseBurgers teams, because he can use Cinder City. But, like, he doesn't work well in ChesseBurgers teams at all. He's just there because he's the only Electro Natlan character. So, like, basically, Auron right now doesn't really have teams where his strengths can truly shine. And so because of that, I could see him getting like becoming better in the future if there's more characters that are released that work well with him. Okay, next up. Who else is there? Toma? No. I don't think anyone else makes it in B. Or in A, sorry. Oh wait, no, that's not true. Kirara. I forgot Kirara existed. My bad. Alright, B! This is probably the tier that's gonna have the most characters. Or maybe not. Maybe C will have the most. Anyways. Lila. For sure. Goro, I think. Toma, for sure. Farazan, most likely. As much of a Farazan hater as I am, when she's not C6, she is that good. Like, at C6, she's arguably the best Animo unit. That's not like a reaction support, right? Like the best Animo damage focused unit. I'm not gonna say she's better than Kazuha and Sucrose, but outside of those two, I'd say that Farazan is arguably the best Animo unit. At C6. Without C6, I don't think that's the case anymore, but she's still good enough. Like, the C6 is amazing, but even without C6, she still provides a lot. Candace? Dude, Candace, it's actually, I'm actually not sure where to put Candace. Maybe she does belong in B now. She is really good in Molani teams. Like, she only has one team where she works, but it's not a team that requires a lot. You just need Molani for the 5 stars. And like, and then C0 Candace makes the team work. Like with Sharon Lang. Like it's not. This is the sort of team that you can make really easily. Thought she's good for Arlecchino too. Only at C6. She doesn't apply off-field Hydro without C6. Unless you're swapping, but you don't want to swap while you're on Arlecchino. Anyways. Beto goes here for sure. Beto has really good constellations. Her C2 is like the most well-known good constellation. But I would argue that it might not even be her best. Like, the more I play with Beto, the more I realize, especially nowadays, her C6 kind of provides so much value in the teams where you play her, because you never play Beto as solo Electro, so this is always going to increase both her and another character's damage. And then obviously the C2 is also great, but I think C0 Beto has fallen in my eyes a bit. She's still good as a defensive focused, or as an offensive focused defensive utility option. And because of Electro's lack of shielders, she still has a niche. But honestly, I think Lanyon's release is going to kind of reduce her use case a little bit. Because I think you'd rather use a defensive option for your Animo slot in Beto teams, as if you can have an Animo slot. Is that a C0 4-star tier list? Yeah. I want to watch this video from Saluna, but I think it's interesting to try to get my thoughts in order before I do. Yunjin at B, that is definitely not gonna happen. No. I guess I can put Sayu here. That's fine, I guess. Sure, whatever. Lisa goes here, I think. Honestly, I think we've reached the point where Lisa's underrated. I don't think she's good, but I do think she's underrated. And maybe more importantly, in this case, Lisa gains fucking nothing from her constellations. Try landing her E at C0, but why would you try landing her E at C0? Lisa is a character that does not have an elemental skill, whether she's C0 or C6. That's why her constellations are pretty worthless. Because her skill is so bad that even with constellations, you don't want to use it. But Lisa's a like fairly reasonable teammate option for Neuvillette. Although she's not as good now with Auron's release, she's still fine. And same for ChesseBurgers teams. She works relatively well in those. Like, she works. She's not great, but she works. Kachina probably makes it in here as well. I'm a Kachina hater, but she's not bad. Alright, C tier. Mika. Mika suffers from the lack of good physical carries. Mika's not that bad of a unit, honestly. He's just working with the worst carry imaginable. Which means that he's not all that powerful. But, like, Mika's actually a good enough unit that he's even a reasonable option in non-physical teams. So imagine if there was an actual good physical carry. Alright, like, that's how you gotta think about it, alright? And that's why, when I talk about Ella being dog shit, okay? Like, this is what I mean. Mika is actually a good enough unit that you play him in non-physical teams. And people are still talking about how oh no, Ella just doesn't have good supports. No, she's just ass! Sorry. Crooked. Anyways, as much as it pains me, I think K is, well, no, K and Rosaria should be in B. They should be in B. They should be in B. They're not that bad. Rosaria kind of wants C2. Yeah, but even at C0, she still has some use, I think. Anyways, so Mika's here. I'm not gonna put, okay, if you're looking at, like, Thundering Fury, I think Razor's actually, like, here, if not here. But Thundering Fury needs Bennett C6. So I don't think it's reasonable to assume that when you're looking at C0, at the power of C0 4-stars. So I'm gonna assume that you don't have access to Bennett C6, which means that Thundering Fury is a lot worse. Yeah, who else is in C tier? Yunfei, probably. I think you could make an argument for Yunfei in B. Probably. She's not that bad of a carry. It's just... She's also not that good of a carry. And I don't think at C0 she's strong enough to justify playing her over your other available options, even on a newish account that doesn't have that many options. I think Dory makes it here. The main reason why Dory's perceived as such a bad character is because she's kind of just strictly worse than Cookie. But, like, if you don't have access to Cookie, because you don't have her, that kind of sucks for you. And I do think Dory can be used. It's gonna feel like ass, but she can be used. Diona? I think nowadays, pretty much the only value Diona has is her C6. If you don't have her C6, Diona's doing pretty much nothing for your team. There just aren't teams where you're severely lacking defensive utility. And what you're looking for from a defensive utility unit is a cryo battery. And Diona doesn't provide anything other than energy particles and defensive utility. Diona's a really good option in Ayaka teams, but she's not. Like, that's the thing. She's actually not a good option in Ayaka teams at all. Who else then? Charlotte or Mika over her. I'd use either of those before I use Iona. Can hold Elegy. Do you think that matters to a C0 4-star ranking? No, it doesn't. Also, Elegy's not that good for Ayaka teams. Or like what I've said so far, I'm not saying that Diona is a worthless unit. I'm saying without her C6, she's a worthless unit. At C6, there are situations where she can be good. Because 200 EM is a lot of EM. And it seems like Hoyo's trying to push forward Melt a little bit more. Anyways. Gumming is probably here. Gumming is such a weird unit. Because if you look at Gumming's good teams, you'll notice that, like, they're actually so Constellation reliant. Or 5-star reliant. Like, if you look at the like, double Hydro Xianyun team, it'll do fine with C0 Gumming. Like, it's not gonna be great, but it'll be fine. Maybe, probably good enough to go here. But that's 3 5-stars. And if you look at his teams that aren't using the 5 stars, right? You look at, for example, the double cryo melt. Well, that's a good team, but the team's damage gets significantly increased by Bennett's C6, by Diona's C6, and by the additional cryo up you get from Rosaria's C2. If you're looking at everyone's C0, the team is doing like half the fucking damage. Like, it's actually a massive difference. Because there's multiple different factors that you don't have that each enhance each other's effect on your overall damage. If you were only missing one of them, it's not too bad. But if you're missing all of Gaming's damage he gets from Constellations, the attack buff Bennett gets from C1, C5, the pyro damage buff from C6, the EM buff from Rosaria, and the additional melt from, the EM buff from Diona and the additional melt from Rosaria. All of these things get multiplied together. So lacking all of them is a massive difference. Right, like if we're looking at expected output, right? Base attack, attack percent, flat attack, total attack, damage percent, CV, CM, EM multiplier, E attack, melt, E attack, MV, melt, MV, damage. Okay. Because I want to actually quantify the difference for that 4-star only team. Alright, so Gumming base attack 302. I think it's fair to assume Serpent Spine. Having only access to C0 4-stars it just means that you're relatively new. It doesn't mean that you're not buying the battle pass, and one battle pass is enough to get you Serpent Spine. We could also use Male Flower, but like I can't be bothered. Attack percent. So this is all C0, all C6. So, 25% from Power Resonance, 20% from Noblesse. I don't know if in this team you'd use attack sands or not. For now, let's assume EM sands. 20% attack from substats. Flat attack, 350-ish, plus Bennett, which is 191 plus 565 times 95%. Okay. All C6, this flat attack buff is now 132. Okay. Damage percent. Pyro Goblet. This bullshit, 20%. Serpent Spine. Is that it? Maybe. All C6. Oh yeah, there's also that. Okay, all C6 you get 15% from Bennett. Crit value 60% plus 62.2 plus 20 times 6.6 plus 27.6 times 2. Plus 36% times 2. No, instead of Serpent Spine, I think we should look at Mailed Flower. Because otherwise the cows get a little dank because of potential overflow crit. And I can't be bothered with that, man. So it's gonna be 24% attack. Elevation. Okay. And all C6. Oh yeah, I guess you also get Crowd Resonance. Plus 80%. 187 plus 80 plus was it 96, so 206 206 plus 200 you don't get crit from Power Resonance? No, but you get crit from Power Resonance. Effective attack melt. You mean? Motion value melt. 391.7 times. How many do you get with C0 Rosaria? 3? Can you get 4? I'm not sure if you can. You probably can't, actually. No, maybe you can. Let's say it's 4. 4 versus 6. Then 629.7 times 2. Okay. And 460.8 times 2 times 6 plus 740.8 times. Yeah. That's the difference between all of those characters at C0 versus all of them at C6. Okay? And obviously it's a bit approximative. You're not actually going to get perfect uptime on all your buffs, so it's not exactly. That's probably going to be closer to 2.5 than 2.7, but I think this illustrates the point, okay? Gumming is a character where he does have good teams, and he even does have good teams with only 4 stars, but the constellations matter a lot, not just on him. Alright, the only difference was his own constellations. Alright, he only gets like 60% more damage. Which is good, like obviously it's a pretty big fucking difference. But even if he's C6, if the rest of your team is all C0, it's still not gonna be that great. Anyways. What about all C6 gumming C0? We can take a look at that as well. Is that it, or did I fuck something up? No, that is it, more or less. I probably fucked up a decimal somewhere or some shit, but... Anyways. What else we got? Maybe Sethos? Sethos is in a similar scenario. But I think it's a bit less flagrant with Sethos than it is with Gaming. Like, yeah, obviously his constellations and official constellations matter a lot for the team DPS, but it's not as big of a gap as it's not as big of a gap as it is with Gaming. But he's also not as good. But maybe it is enough to put him in like B. I'm hesitating for Sethos. I'm not sure. Charlotte is also going to be here. Really not much to say about her, honestly. She's can use TTDS, I guess. That's Pog. For the rest, I don't think any of the remaining ones make it in C. We're gonna default to D, and then we'll add a row below for the garbage. The condolences tier. No, Sarah's not there. As much as I hate Sarah, I don't think she's there. I think that's it. Maybe I'm too rough on Kaveh, honestly. Because on the hypothetical account scenario that I described, having a character that can apply Dendro is still kind of valuable. So maybe he that's enough to put him in D. How many units in S? 5. Amber is garbage. I agree. But a character being garbage doesn't mean that they don't have any use whatsoever. Amber can have a use. But I guess technically so can Chongyun and Shinyan. Okay, fine, you've convinced me. Ember goes down here, sure. Amber takes care of pyro torches. I mean, when's the last time you've seen a pyro torch? Be honest. Blood is still exploring Mondstadt in almost 2025. Anyways, a few of the characters that are here, namely, I guess not a few, but like, some of the characters are a little bit higher than like just their power as a whole would dictate, because Hoyo is like leaning more and more into cringe bullshit enemies, and characters that can deal with the cringe bullshit mechanics can have a bit more value because of that, right? So like in this Abyss, for example, a character that can deal with the Golden Wolf Lord is actually somewhat valuable, right? Now, is it enough to justify putting a Geo character on your team just for this? By itself, honestly, no. However, paired with the Blessing of the Abyssal Moon, that makes it so that if you trigger Crystallize, you deal true damage to enemies, it is actually enough to justify the slot, I think. Well, like, when you don't have a lot of options. I do think that if you have C6 Fischl, you'd rather use that, but not everyone does, you know? Anyways, these are my thoughts on the value of 4 stars at C0. So let's now take a look at this video.
About C0 4 stars. This is a thought I had recently on a live stream, mostly related to the fact that Fischl, in case you don't know, is like one of the most relevant 4 stars in Genshin. And despite that, it's been over a year since she reran. Like, the last time Fischl got a rerun was on Nuvilet's first banner, which is bonkers to me. I've long since said Genshin has had a pretty big problem that just gets worse and worse over time as far as acquiring 4 stars. The best recent example I can say for this is that I went for C6 Kaveh when he got his rerun banner, and to get 4 copies of Kaveh, I got 3 5 stars. And my point with this, I think there is relevance to have a conversation in how relevant different 4 stars are at C0. So yeah, I'm stooping to the level of making a tier list video, but the point of the tier list is to serve as a general framework for understanding the concept and the discussion at hand, which is like the problem of 4 stars design in this game and how there's no guarantee you're ever
wait. Oh boy. Oh boy.
We're going to get a C6, especially if you're a player that's like starting today. It's a thing that I think is important to keep in mind whenever we're talking to each other on a communal level, right? Like if someone is asking for advice on how to use Amber, keeping in mind that some people are just never going to get anything past C0 Amber is kind of important. This is going to be my opinions and experiences playing this game on multiple different accounts over the last few years, and I'm trying to extrapolate out to a larger perspective, right? You don't have to agree with every single specific thing, but feel free to jump in the comments if you have.
I ended up getting a bit loose with my placements. Basically, this list is trying to balance the relevance of a character's kit in conjunction with how con-reliant they are.
Further nuanced thoughts or something I missed. This is not like a characters you should pull for tier list. This is how functional.
I feel like there are some units that need a tier below, basically need C6. I agree. There should be a tier below that says is worthless no matter what the constellation is. But I mean, it is
are these characters at C0 and are they actually a relevant character? It's a wishy-washy tier list on purpose, right? Because we're having a conversation. Amber, obviously not there. Amber, I think for her to be fun, wants C2. I don't know. She has some burst support utility at C0, so at best,
like this is at a baseline a different perspective for the tier list compared to what I approach it with, right? He's not looking at how strong is this character given you have C0. He's looking at how much more cringe is this character to play if you don't have their relevant constellations versus if you do.
She's in B tier, but personally, I think for her to like actually be a fun unit, like a Baron Bunny Bomber playstyle, basically is C2 at minimum, but probably C4. She needs constellations and has other problems, I'd say. Barbara has the advantage of being a Hydra unit, and her constellations are kind of garbage. C2 decreases her cooldown of her skill, so, you know, she goes, I think, 25 seconds and then 20-second burst cooldown, so, like, she can be a relevant healer for Farina, because this is a team-wide heal, and then her ability to apply some Hydra with her ring from off-field, as long as you hug some enemies, or use her as an on-field doing normal and charge attacks to apply Hydra, is relevant, and her constellations don't really do that much for her. She's actually an A-tier C0 4-star. She can be very useful and functional at C0, not constellation reliant. You're probably never going to feel the need to pull constellations on her, and Hydro is useful. Beidou.
But yeah, right, like here the difference in categorization shows up, right? I don't think Soluna would argue that Barbara is, I mean, let's fucking skip ahead a little bit. We're at 3 minutes and 3 seconds. I don't think Soluna would argue that Barbara is a better unit than, like, C0 Barbara is a better unit than C0 Shangling, right? Because that's not what this is trying to say. This is not the power of the unit. This is just how constellation reliant they are, which is different from what I did, right? And so I had Barbara really low because, well, yeah, sure, she's not reliant on her constellations, but she's also bad at C0 and at C6. Although I know if Eeks was here, Eeks would he would get angry. He would defend Barbara with his dying breath. But I think that's cope. Okay, I think that's Omega cope. Sorry.
It was useful. Beidou. She is kind of constellation reliant. I do like Beidou, but this C2 is kind of important. I'm going to put her in B tier for that reason. And the Bennett. Now, you might say Bennett is an obvious S tier, mostly because Hoyoverse does not want to release literally any other attack buffer in the game for some reason, other than Chevreuse. Means that I think his C1's kind of important, so I don't know if I'm actually going to place him in S tier. He is a functional unit at C0, definitely, but the value you gain from C1 and C5 in particular, I would say. I also think C6 is very, very fun. Benny is a 4-star unit that is potentially worth pulling constellations for. Quite frankly, he is probably the most relevant 4-star in the game, so I kind of want to put him here, but I also think, I don't know. I think because Bennett is in the Paimon's bargain shop though, and therefore C1 is easier to get on him than it is for many other 4-stars in the game, he deserves to be in that tier. Candace. I really like Candace's kit. We don't need to go in depth on it. Candace has this C1. This increases her burst duration by 3 seconds, which is both for her Hydro Infusion as well as her normal attack damage bonus. Candace C6 is relevant for Arlecchino. That's what I use her a lot in. Non-C6 Candace is also relevant for Mualani nowadays. I don't think this character has a functional kit without C1, quite frankly. 9 seconds of burst up time in her base kit is just stupid, in my opinion. And her niche nature makes her, I think, she's a solid B tier. Charlotte, she's a team-wide healer. She's also never had a rerun, by the way. She released on Farina's banner over a year ago.
Is that true? Charlotte's never been on banner since her release. That's crazy.
Welcome to the point of this video.
Cryo jail, I see.
Constellations basically just reduce her energy needs and make her a little bit better of a healer. Healers that do nothing else other than heal is not that relevant. So, like, she's not a...
I actually disagree with this. I think that Charlotte's constellations are a bit more important than he's saying here. Because, unironically, her healing at C0 is kind of ass. Her constellations help her healing so much.
A super relevant character, but the nature of Farina existing in particular means healers have significant relevance regardless. She has front-loaded burst cryo application potential that can like enable you to get melts on Diluc skill I've seen. Niche utility, but like it's all things that she has a functional C0 kit. She's actually good and useful at C0. Doesn't mean you need to build her, it just depends on your healer situation. Chivalrous. Straight into S tier. I feel like there's some people that might feel like, oh, you know, C6 60% damage bonus. No, I really don't feel like going in depth. You can watch the last year's worth of videos, which have used this character to varying degrees or another. The important thing to keep in mind is, yes, 60% damage bonus can be good. Like, her base kit components of buffing, right? These passives are far more important than the damage bonus from C6. Far more. The vast majority of the buffing, even if you have C6 Chevreuse, the vast majority of the buffing that she does is in her passives, not in her C6. This character is extremely functional and is quite frankly the best 4-star they have released since version 1.0.
Is that true? It might be true, actually. Yeah.
Her only real downside is that it takes investment into your...
Farazan, maybe? Yeah, I think it's probably between her and Faraz. And honestly, okay, listen. I think it's between her, Farazan, and Lanyan. Cut!
Electro and Pyro crit DPSs to get true value out of her. Anyways, I don't know how much of that spiel...
We'll talk a lot more about Lanyan later. Don't worry. I think I will record a Lanyan pre-release. I'm getting convinced of it now.
I'm gonna leave in for Shivers.
Is she that good? It's not that her kid is that good. It's just the role she fulfills is very, very valuable, right? Like when you look at defensive utility animal units, we don't have one that provides resistance to interruption right now. You have ones that provide healing, which are obviously going to be good with Farina, but for non-Farina teams, they feel like ass to play, right? Like you're not happy playing Jean or Sayu in any team that isn't using Farina. And so for non-Farina teams, you're lacking a good animal option. The fact that she can use TTDS means that she provides a large buff as a good defensive option. Like imagine if Kirara was a catalyst.
Straight up deserves S tier. Chungus, his constellations are mostly focused on making him be able to do more damage. C2 is interesting because of the cooldown reduction. I don't think he is a very... So I'm going to put him in B category. Kale has...
I'm sad that she owns the second banner, can't get C2, yeah. Well, don't worry, we'll talk about that in the pre-release.
Being a Dendro character going for her. Her main value is in her bursts front-loaded Dendro application. Her C4 gives a team-wide EM buff. Okay, honestly...
The thing though is like... There's so many teams where you could consider playing Lanyan that, like, you don't care that much if the shield isn't that strong.
Because of other Dendro characters that are more relevant than her at C0, I don't think she deserves A category. But yeah, I think she belongs. That are more relevant than her at C0, I don't think she deserves A category.
Okay, let's talk about this statement.
Because of other Dendro characters that are more relevant than her at C0.
I hate Cole with a passion. Whenever I play Cole, I get actually angry. Like, I get fucking pissed off at Hoyo. Because having characters locked in long animations without iframes is a concept that is just incredibly unpleasant. It's not fun to play. It doesn't have like a cool flashy animation. Like, there is no upside to it. It's strictly a downside, and it's very unpleasant to play. I think that her targeting issues are fine. Like, the targeting issues are also there, but they don't bother me as much as the animation lock. I think the animation locks, like, the animation lock is the real problem with Cole. If she didn't have the animation lock, I would be so much more positive on her. Because honestly, she's not a bad character. But even with all of that, she is still getting a decent amount of value from her cons. So if you don't have the cons, you will feel the difference. But like, but she's also a Dendro character, and what do you mean animation lock? I mean, she has a relatively long animation that you can't dash cancel. Right? Most characters have animations that are either short or that you can dash cancel. So for example, if you look at Farina, her E-cast animation isn't that short, but you can dash out of the end lag of the animation. With Cole, I'll press E and then I'll spam dash. That's the amount of time that's necessary between the start of the animation and the time you start dashing. But you can get hit during that animation. And what that means is that you'll often have to adjust your rotation and wait for the enemy's attack to be over so that you can dodge the attack and then cast your skill. Because if you cast your skill, you'll die. Right? Another example of a character with a committal animation that doesn't have that issue is Kazuha. Right? Kazuha's E animation is very long. However, because it's a jump, at least you're avoiding a good amount of attacks from it. Cole doesn't have any sort of yeah. And it also staggers, whereas Cole's skill just fucking doesn't. Anyways, it just feels pretty awful to use.
C0, I don't think she deserves A category. But yeah, I think she belongs with Amber, and hey, they're friends, that's good. Diona, quite frankly, I think this character needs C6 to be relevant. In case...
Yeah, that's fair. fair.
If you're unfamiliar with her kit, essentially she is both a shielder
I think Diamond C6 used to be pretty worthless, but ever since Gumming was released, it started mattering a lot more.
and a healer. Her shield is not very strong, and her healing is not very strong either. Like, she's not a great healer for Frina. So she has niche value with this buff, though. A 200 elemental mastery buff to increase your reaction damage is significant. There's so many options for, you know, cryo defensive units in the game at this point. Like, why would you bother with her unless you have C6? Dory has some interesting shenanigan potential with constellations, which makes me inclined to put her here. Her kit has really weird niche mechanics to it, but she has various problems that make her not particularly relevant. I really feel like they should have just made her do a team-wide heal in her base kit, and suddenly she would have been relevant because of Freena's existence, but she doesn't, so... Oh, it's Farazan. This is an easy one. Yep. Let's say you're going to play Wanderer, right? You're an pure...
Yeah, I actually disagree with this sentiment. Farazan is one of the characters, if not the character, that gains the most from C6. But it's like going from a fucking C tier to an S tier character. It's not going from an F tier to an S tier character, you know? Like he doesn't need the C6 to be good.
Pure crit animo DPS. The biggest difference to your experience playing Wanderer in the hard content of this game is going to be whether or not you have this constellation. And she has very severe problems in how you can use her without this C6 for how, like, she was intended to be used as like an off-field supportive buffing unit for animo damage, right?
Say the toothbrush analogy? Wait, what's that? C0 Farazan is like a toothpick. C6 is a proper toothbrush. Oh. Good one.
So, yeah. I would say the only asterisk with this is, like, in this category, if you want to do...
Is that a good... I don't know. Because, like, a toothpick doesn't actually clean your teeth, you know? Like, she still does her job.
Farazan is like a toothbrush. Now, Farazan at C6 is like a fully functioning toothbrush. You can brush your teeth, and it's like, wow, I can't live without this. But Farazan C0, she's still good, but she's like a toothpick with toothpaste on it. It's better than using your finger, but it's not as efficient as a toothbrush. It's not even close. And once you have the toothbrush, you're like, dude, I can never go back to the toothpick. So
the thing is, like, if you can't really use a toothpick like you can't use a toothpick to brush your teeth. You're gonna damage your teeth if you do that every day. Like, that's bad. A toothpick can be fine to, like, get food stuck out of your teeth. Or to get some food that's stuck in your teeth out. But it's not an actual way to brush your teeth. He's saying that C0 is so bad. No, that's not what he's saying. Like, that's exactly why this is a bad analogy. Or like toothpick versus dental floss. I mean, not really either. Because a toothpick can't actually get most of the tartar that's, like, stuck to your... The part of your teeth that's, like, really on the inside. And it's not like Farazan can't function. It's that it requires more effort, and it's not quite as effective. It's more like C0 Farazan is a normal toothbrush, and C6 Farazan is that fucking weird-ass, disgusting toothbrush at the dentist that, like, spins around. Electric tooth, but it's more than that. Like, it's yeah, it's different. Like, it goes further than just cleaning. It also, like, polishes your teeth or some bullshit like that. I don't know, man. It's weird. C0 Farazan is like a unicycle. C6 Farazan is like a BMX. You can do cool tricks on both, but, like, yeah. Anyways.
DPS Farazan. Official. Really kind of want to put her at S tier. I think she has higher potential staying power than even Chungling does, just because I suspect we're going to get more off-field pyro options in the future. She does gain meaningfully from having C6.
That's actually an interesting take. I kind of agree with that. I think it's easier to make a character that can shake up Changling's place without power creep than it is to make a character that can shake up Fischl's place without power creep.
So that makes me torn between whether or not she actually deserves S tier or not, essentially. But the importance of having...
Like, we have a bunch of off-field Electro characters, and none of them fucking stand up to Fischl.
Having compelling off-field
GOAT.
damage dealing options in the game, and having compelling ways to do a bunch of elemental application, and how Fischl can trivialize a lot of situations by shredding.
Yai is straight up better. True! Real!
Through enemy shields, and that's how Moew designs a lot of the content. So I think she deserves S tier. Even at C0, she is a very useful character. I honestly feel like Chungling C0 is a worse experience than Fischl C0 as far as comparing constellations of those two characters. Fremine is a weird mixed cryo physical DPS. I think he has a very cool kit, but quite frankly, he doesn't start to do compelling damage until he has constellations. So, like, if you're going to play him, you want constellations. It's not technically a dysfunctional kit at C0. It's just a very weak kit. So I think Fremine will be in this tier. Gaming is also not a particularly strong unit at C0, but he is much stronger at C6. He has the strength of being a pyro unit, though. I think he deserves A tier. He is functional and...
This one I heavily disagree with. This one I think is massive gumming cope. Because I also think it's important to realize that carries being constellation reliant matters a lot more than supports. In the sense that if your gumming is only doing half of the damage that he could do, that's a much bigger deal than if your Xingqiu is only doing half the damage that he could potentially do. Because gumming's most of your team's damage. Xingqiu isn't.
Useful at C0 for being a pyro DPS option, but it's very possible as soon as you pull.
I like straight up think that gumming is worthless at C0. I feel like looking at like C0 4 stars. That being said, this isn't this exact same hypothetical as mine. Right? This isn't assuming a new account, this is assuming the characters just come out. And so maybe he's assuming that your other characters can be C6. But yeah. He's better than Yunfei. At C0, I don't think that's true. At C6, I agree. At C0, I don't think that's true. Yunfei damages ass? I mean, yeah, but Gumming's doing a third of his fucking damage when stuff is when stuff is all C0. You know, like still better? What are you basing this on? Like, do you have fucking actual like calcs on both of them? Have you played a lot of C0 Gumming and Yunfei? Or are you just saying that because Gumming is a better unit overall and you're extrapolating from that? Just pure damage? That doesn't answer my question. How do you know? Did you do calcs on C0 Gumming versus C0 Yunfei? Did you play C0 Gumming and C0 Yunfei? Or are you just fucking yapping out of your ass? Overall. Okay, so you are just yapping out of your ass. You didn't calc it or try it. You're literally just making it up. Why are you so confident about it then? Sorry, it's fine. It happens, man. BH, even if she was better, she feels kind of bad to play. Have you ever actually played non-C6 Gumming? Like, listen, like, I kind of agree that Yunfei doesn't feel the greatest to play without her C4. But I don't think it's as bad as Gumming. Sometimes Gumming feels like ass even at C6. That is true. You are right.
For like a 5-star pyro DPS, you know won't really ever have a reason to play him again unless you just want to play him. He is not a unit that is magically going to be super strong on his own right, is basically what it is. But I'm comfortable placing him in this tier.
I heavily disagree. You know, I'm gonna DM Saluna right now. I'm gonna shit talk him. showcase. I have shit talked him.
Goro, Flap, Kachina. You know what?
Proof? I said, I'm watching your 4-star video and I'm here to criticize and flame you for your horrible takes. I also said some other things.
She actually deserves A tier. Why? Because
That's not proof? I don't want to leak DMs for the rest of the stuff, so I gotta be careful. Yo. That is proof.
she is good and functional at C0 just because the artifact set in Outland exists, right? You can get 40% damage bonus for Pyro,
AI
Hydro, Cryo,
generated
Electro,
real.
whatever crystal.
Nice Photoshop skills? No, I think you mean nice paint skills.
Crystallized reaction is triggered. Damage buffing is valuable. Since her damage is irrelevant, you can build her for Elemental Mastery and your crystallized shields.
Okay, I also don't really agree with the Goro ranking. The thing with Goro is that he's not that great of a unit. The reality is that his C6 isn't actually that good, and his other constellations are also kind of ass. But he's also kind of weak at C0, and what he gains from C6 is enough to push him over the edge from kind of not great to, like, okay. But he doesn't actually gain that much, and he can still be played if you don't have too many other options at C0. Like, he's okay. I do think people tend to underestimate Goro a bit. Or, I guess, overestimate the value out of his C6. He doesn't gain as much from C6 as Farazan does. Let's just put it that way.
This can be like a 5,000 HP shield, which is definitely not nothing. Her main problem is that as soon as you get into like the 5-star buffers kind of thing, you're going to quickly reach the point where Kachina is not relevant. But it's regardless of her constellations. Her constellations just basically make her do more damage.
Isn't he the same as Mika in the sense that he doesn't have a good carry to buff? Not really. Noelle and Ito are both pretty solid. It's just that what Goro provides isn't very good. Like, his particle generation is really low. He provides pretty much nothing other than his buffs, and the buffs that he does provide aren't all that large, right? Like, you compare... Right, you look at the amount of buffing that he provides, right? 370 defense, when you look at defense carries, is generally the equivalent of about 40% defense. Another 25, so 65% defense. Now, a defense sans is 58.3. So this 65% defense is the equivalent of about 50% attack or damage percent in terms of value. It's a 1 main stats-ish. And then 15 geo damage is a third of a main stat. That's 1 1/3 to 1 1/2 main stat worth of buffing at a baseline. And then with C6, that's another 40%, so it goes up to about 2 main stats. Mika, 60% crit damage, that's already 1 main stat. And then upwards of 50% damage percent. So that's also about 2 main stats. And then there's also the attack speed bonus. And that's hard to translate to main stats. And then there's also the fact that he's a great team-wide healer. Right? Like, just the amount of things that are provided in Mika's case is so much more than the amount of things that are provided by Goro. Sorry, I'm bavardaging right now. Alright, I'll be right back. Live debate on stream, real. I've returned. Thank you, guards, for upholding the peace. Okay. Is Saluna cooked? Yeah. Completely cooked. I've destroyed him with facts and logic. Call me Zajef77 Sorry.
She does 0 damage. So like doubling her damage with C6, you're doing 0 times 2. 0 times 2 is 0. So like her constellations are irrelevant, I'm sorry. Kaya. C2 is weird. In AoE situations, it extends his burst duration so you can get meaningfully more damage out of him. Realistically, I am also kind of of the opinion that C6 is where he actually starts to be relevant because he's the best cryo player in the game at C6. With just him as a cryo unit on the team, he can enable Arlecchino to melt. But a C6 of Kaya, like you can only get this from standard banner and in the Paimon shop, so it might take you 3 years literally to get. I don't know. He's technically not dysfunctional with.
It's worth it though. True.
C6, like he can be an off-field DPS, so maybe he actually technically belongs in here. You know what? I'll leave him here. I'll be nice to him. Kaveh. Having gone for Kaveh C6 myself, I was surprised how little I noticed the difference. I thought it would be a better constellation than it was. He's not good at C0. He is technically functional at C0 for what his kit was made to do. I recently made a video.
I don't think he is functional at C0, although I also don't think he's functional at C6, so... Cut!
Doing Shatterbloom Kaveh, and it's better than you probably would expect. None of his constellations really do that much. So you know what? He actually gets to be... He's a functional C0 4-star. He gets to be in this category. But he's definitely not good, so he's not going up here. Cat. As much as I like Kirara, and I have had fun DPSing Kirara pre-C4, I think her actual intended relevance is as, you know, a defensive shield unit. The main problem I have with her as a defensive shield unit is that she doesn't do any off-field dendro until C4. So like if you wanted her to be like your off-field dendro for enabling your Fischl to aggravate or whatever, but some teams can like swap to her often enough that it's not a problem. So she's a weird one. It really depends on the team how much you would care about C4 in particular for the off-field dendro. Otherwise her constellations aren't insane. I think she's ultimately a fairly niche dendro
Okay, but
unit.
that being said, though, what character has more MPS than Kirara does? Hmm? Name one. Name one character with higher MPS than Kirara. Hmm? Hmm? Yeah, that's what you can't. That's what I thought. Where is it again? Is it here? Or is it here? I think it's here. No, it's not. Is it here? No, it's here, isn't it? Wait, no, it's here. Fuck, where is it again? It's near the statue when you jump down. No. Where? I don't think it's here. No, it's not here. Fuck, I can't find it. Left? Left is not a direction, buddy. Left from here? Left from here? Left from here? Left from... There. Alright, thanks. South. Thank you. Is it here? I don't think so. There's a place in Dragonspine where, like, there's a fucking little gap where only some characters can go through. Look at the clip? Fine. No, that's not... Okay, wait. Wait, it is here. But this way? Right, it's there. Okay. Okay. I found it.
Paimon, come.
Wait, is it dialogue or sound effect? I'm not sure. Whatever, let's just max out both. Oh, right, I forgot you have to hold. What? Holy! What character can have higher MPS, huh? That's what I thought. Yeah, and it's not C6 reliant. You're so right. Wait, that's the wrong video. That's also the wrong video. This is the right video.
But I think I'll push her up to good and useful at C0 though, and that's simply because people value shielders. Having defensive options is nice. It's a quality of life experience, because even if you don't play an Abyss, you might want a character that can keep you alive, and she has a relevant element that can do things that are important for reaction triggering. Sara. Yep. Sara is similar to Goro, quite frankly, in my mind, in that even with her C6, I don't like her that much. And without her C6, she's basically useless.
Yeah, that one I also don't know about. The biggest, like, issue with Sarah is that even in the teams where, even in the teams where her C6 is good, I really don't like the teams that don't, like the Sarah teams that don't end up using some form of damage other than Raiden. Like, Chevreurs, Bennett, Sarah, Raiden, in my eyes, is like, oh, not it. Like, I know it can be good, but I just hate it so much more than the Xiangling. Than replacing Bennett with Xiangling in that team. And when you have Xiangling, that's a good amount of damage that is now coming from damage that doesn't get buffed by Sarah's C6. And so because of that, I don't actually think Sarah's that reliant on her C6. Like, yeah, I think that you shouldn't play Sarah over Fischl if you don't have Sarah C6. But if you really like Sarah and you want to play her, or you really like seeing a bigger number on your Raiden burst, you still can, and I don't think she's that bad. She's worse than the alternatives, but I don't think that makes her inherently bad. So I'd probably put her here rather than here. But like I get it still.
The buff that she gives without C6 is just not relevant enough because you have other options that you have for team building in the game. Now, Kuki gets some value from C2 to give her full uptime on her Electro Ring for triggering Hyper Blooms, which makes me kind of not want to put her at S tier. But also her burst can mitigate that downtime if you play well. So you know what? Nah, I think Kuki, the relevance of Hyper Bloom and her being a little bit of a defensive focused unit, especially considering there's a lot of players in the game who aren't going to necessarily need that few seconds of additional uptime for, you know, like, it doesn't matter for Overworld, right? We'll leave her there though. It's interesting we only have Electro and Pyro 4 stars in this category. That either shows a heavy bias on my part or a heavy bias on Mahoyo's part. Layla. I know some people would probably place her in A tier. I don't think she makes sense to be put in this tier, but she's technically a functional C0 defensive unit, so she can stay in this tier. Also,
Yeah.
C1 makes her shield stronger, and a lot of people might feel like they want that. This is energy refunding. C4 gives her a buff that makes her a bit more interesting to actually consider using. The relevance of C1 at minimum, I think, makes her solidly in this tier. Lisa. I just made a video about Lisa. Personally, I kind of feel she's in this tier. But her strongest constellation on paper, if you play her well, is C4. So solidly in this tier. Lynette is a functional C0 Animo unit, and she is good. Why? Because Animo is strong. And if you don't have other options for Animo, she is a free Animo unit. If I recall, you unlock her by clearing like floor 4 of Abyss. She is not as strong as like Sucrose, to be clear. But everyone has Lynette, not everyone necessarily has Sucrose, right? And I think that's important to keep in mind. She can be functional and useful at C0, and her constellations don't change her kit, so she belongs here. Mika, kind of in the same category of Charlotte, where he is a team-wide cryo healer. He does less cryo application than Charlotte, but he also does his like physical normal attack speed buff. I think his heal is also a little bit better, and his energy needs are a little bit less awful. I also think for like casual overworld use, a lot of people might like Mika just for the fact that, you know, increasing physical damage. Right? Like think back to when you first played Genshin, you just spam normal attacks to deal with all the things. Mika will buff.
I think that's pushing it. I think that's pushing it a little.
For casual overworld use, I think Mika is a surprisingly good character. In a more meta perspective, is he a good character? No. But that's not what this tier list is. This is how functional is his kit. If we're asking, is he a relevant physical buffer at C0? No, that's a different question, right? Then he is in this category. But I think physical buffer at C0? No, that's a different question, right? Then he is in this category. But I think he is a functional character at C0, not necessarily a meta-relevant physical buffer at C0. Ningguang. I think her C6 is kind of important for her being a compelling DPS. Oh, well, compelling DPS might be a weird term when it comes to Ningguang. She's not necessarily a compelling DPS at all.
I'm curious, what do you guys think is Ningguang's best constellation? Because I think that her best constellation is like significantly ahead of the other ones. Okay, we have a few smart chatters. Pog. Her best constellation is C2, and it's not even close. If she didn't have particle ICD, her C2 would be even better too. Man.
Also, I think I'll put her in this category to keep it simple. I do not have the most knowledge about Ningguang's like tech and how to use her properly, so feel free to jump in the comments if you have more nuanced thought about Ningguang. I imagine if you actually want to play her, you will end up feeling like you want constellations on her, is my suspicion, and that's why I think she belongs in this category. I guess you could argue that her utility as a catalyst unit, being able to use Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, means she could be in this tier, but I'm gonna keep her here. Noelle. I think Noelle is kind of a C6 character. Like, I have a built Noelle with her C6, and she is a fun character at C6, but she's not insanely strong. She can be your on-field healer when paired with Farina is her most notable synergy in the game right now. You play her if you like her, or her playstyle for whatever reason, right? So I think she gets this tier, sorry. But I'd say she's like above the other ones. Razor Boy. So Razor has some reaction shenanigan potential because of the fact that you can have him be an infusion target in conjunction with his burst doing electro damage. So you can have, you know, pyro damage from Bennett C6 and electro damage at the same time, meaning you can trigger overloads, burgeons, hyper blooms. Razor can be built for EM and trigger all the reactions at the same time, and that's kind of a really cool thing you can do with him. His constellations mostly increase his personal talent damage, which isn't the most relevant. C4, I guess, is kind of interesting for the def decrease, but it doesn't matter for reaction damage, so yeah. It's called Thundering Fury if you want to look it up. But this doesn't really mean for reaction damage, so yeah. It's called Thundering Fury if
That's fucked up. That's a fucked up thing to say.
you want to look it up. But this doesn't really mean he is that good at C0, and that's also something that's kind of reliant on another character's C6. So, like, I don't think that means he deserves this. I think I'll put him in B tier. Rosaria. Rosaria gains some physical res shred from C6. She gets a duration extension for her burst with C2, which I'd say is kind of important. Which solidly places her, I think, in this tier. If you weren't aware, her burst buffs your team crit rate based on Rosaria's own crit rate, so she can give up to a 15%.
Expect Citlali plus Rosaria combo to be very strong. True.
Crit rate buff.
Augers.
She might actually be my favorite cryo unit in the game right now. But I think this is where she deserves to be. Sayu is a defensive-focused anima unit. She can hold VV, which means she has relevance. Her C1 is technically necessary to get her burst to heal and attack at the same time. How needed is that? I don't know. I think the most fun thing you can do is on-fielding Yao Yao. She can be a weird reaction DPS. She's an anima healer that can use VV, but I also think, like, Jean exists, and Jean is a better anima healer than her, quite frankly. So, like, in the context of other Anima 4-stars that can hold VV, or if you have
I don't think I've ever heard a description of how Sayu feels to play as eloquent as what we just heard.
Jean is a better Anima healer than her, quite frankly. So, like,
that perfectly encapsulates the Sayu gameplay experience.
Than her, quite frankly. So, like, in the context of other Anima 4-stars that can hold VV,
perfect.
or if you have Jean, I think like, there's not much reason to build her unless you want to do reaction shenanigans, and then she falls in this category. But if you just need a healer, VV artifact set holder and do buffing makes her more compelling, even at low constellations. So maybe here, but I think I'm going to put her here. Zelos. He is actually very, very functional at C0, although I will admit to some bias here. Sethos has a lot of tech you can do to be able to get a lot more value out of him than you might expect. He is one of my favorite characters they have released in a while, just period. But with that said, is he amazing at C0? I think the average player is probably not going to have that experience, even though he has the potential to be. So I'm gonna put him in this category, but I'm gonna put him in the top of it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Sethos here is, like, I think if you assume Fischl C6, this is reasonable. But if you assume Fischl isn't C6, it's not.
Hazo, another
see.
freaking 4-star that has not rerun forever, so it's genuinely worth considering. Okay, again, like the point of this video, how much of a problem is it? I think he belongs here. His C1, I think, is kind of important to give him an extra stack so that you can get more of his big skills out with less field time requirement. But, okay, ultimately the problem is, like, he is a crit-based animo DPS, and that means, like, if you're really, really trying to see big numbers from him, you might want Farazan, right? Farazan C6 specifically. His own C6 is also potentially a fairly significant difference maker for the damage you will see from him. With that said, he can absolutely be a functional driver when you have other compelling forms of damage in the team that aren't just him. You don't have to play a hyper carry version of him where you're playing him like he's Wanderer, right? So, like, his ability to be an animo driver could technically put him here, but Lynette exists, so, like, I think he deserves to be here.
But Lynette isn't an animo driver unless you have her C6. So...
Sugros, our first non-pyro electro S tier. The extra skill used from her early constellations are, like, nice potentially, but they're definitely not needed. And her C6 is not as relevant as some people make it out to be, and the fact that you don't really have to even use Sugros' burst for her to be a very relevant character. She does a significant EM buff. Like this character has situations where she is stronger than Kazuha. Is basically the important takeaway, and she can very much be an account changer. She deserves to be in this tier. Tomers.
Agreed.
I think he kind of needs his early constellations. Even his C4 is nice for his energy needs. But his early constellations improve his uptime. So I'm going to put him here. Xiangling. Obviously, Xiangling is a very strong character. You know, there's the Xiangling copy pasta meme. We never escape Xiangling. Quite frankly, she is going to become a little bit less relevant, I think, as time goes on. If
Displaying her mastery over both pyro and pole arms.
you end up having more off-field pyro options into the future. Like, for what it's worth, I have a very invested account, and I don't use Xiangling very often. I have experienced firsthand the gap between Xiangling C4 and Xiangling not C4. Notably, I played for quite a while on an account with a Xiangling C0. And things like the Hydro Tulpa, for example, she is very good against the Hydro Tulpa. But without a Xiangling C4, she is noticeably worse. Right? Like, it was very obvious. The first copy of Xiangling is free, and she is in the Paimon shop, so her C4 is not necessarily as hard to get as a C4 of, you know, the Chevreuse or whatever. And she usually gets reran a lot, but I don't know, there's no guarantee. Maybe she won't get reran for a year, right? So, like, I'm not going to put her in this tier, because I wouldn't count it as that bad of a problem. I'm going to put her in this tier on the logic of C4 for her is kind of more like C2 for other characters, if you plan around the Paimon shop at worst case. You could easily argue she belongs in this tier. I don't like how much of a gap there is between her C4 and not her C4 in my own experience. The account I played with her at C0, I had an Engulfing Lightning for her and an extremely, extremely strong build. And with her C0, she felt way worse than a really, really underwhelming build did on my main account. So that's why I think she deserves this category. St. Joe, by nature of like being the most compelling Hydro 4-star in the game, you would think deserves this category. The same account that I had problems with Xiangling on, I have had problems with not having Xingqiu's C2. It increases his duration on his burst by 3 seconds. That's what enables you to have more flexibility to like start a rotation with Xingqiu, EQ. So because of that, I don't know if he actually deserves this, but he is a Liyue 4-star, also in the Paimon shop, and Hydro is extremely relevant. If there were more compelling Hydro off-fielders in the game that were 4-stars, I would say he'd get pushed to here. Also, he gains a lot of damage from C6. Like you know, he gains meaningful value from it. So there's some discourse to be had as far as like where Xingqiu belongs is my point. But the importance of Hydro means I think I'm going to put him here. Sun Yan, does this one even matter to anyone? I mean, you know what? Her most interesting constellation is her C6. It is similar to C6 Noelle, where it converts its defense to some charge attack, normal attack damage bonus, if I recall. And that's, I think, where she becomes a more interesting DPS unit. So I don't know. If you have nuanced thoughts about Sun Yan, you can feel free to jump in the comments and disagree, but I'm going to place her here. I'm sorry. Yanfei. She's a little bit similar to Gaming in that she is a Pyro DPS, which is a very significant strength going for her. She has interesting constellations like her C4.
I don't think that's a strength, okay? Personally, I think being a Pyro DPS is a weakness, actually. Because it's probably the one role that has the most units trying to fucking fulfill it. Yeah, it's such an oversaturated role. So for a Pyro carry to be, like, worthwhile, they need to do something special.
The ability to be a weird shielder, and C6 is going to be a meaningful difference maker to the experience of probably her being a compelling DPS. She is functional at C0, I think, but it has some potential constellation relevance. So, blap. Yeah,
even more saturated.
Dendro healer. In fact, like the best healer in the game, but she has some field time requirements. If you have Farina and have need for doing Dendro things with Farina, because that is obviously very relevant, Hydro plus Dendro does good things. Yayo very well, I think, belongs in this tier. But if you have Baiju, then that kind of invalidates some of the potential reason to put her in this category. But that's a 5-star, right? I think she belongs in this category for being very functional and a very good character at C0. Yunjin, unfortunately, kind of is screwed over by her energy problems more than anything, and her constellations do not fix that. She can, of course, be like a Yoimiya buffer. So I think, I don't know, I think I'll put her in this tier. Auroron, I believe, deserves this tier. He actually competes with Fischl, even at C0, quite frankly. And in fact, I think because of the Natlan artifact set, I have not done a direct comparison yet with a C0 Oron versus a C0 Fischl. I think he might be better than Fischl as far as C0 versus C0 goes. The conjunction of the artifact set damage bonus plus the application and
I don't know
damage
about
that
that
he
one,
can deal
honestly.
is meaningful. He doesn't just replace Fischl outright, to be clear. One of the notable things about him is that you can pair him with Fischl, but he's also reliant on the Hydra units you have on your account, so his strength is a little bit dependent on the other options you have. I don't have his C6 on any account, and I found him to be a very, very compelling character, and I like using him a lot. And last, there's a character coming out next patch. I have done some wonderful art. Lanyon, this character was announced already, so I figured I'd put her in the list. I'm not going to go in-depth on her kit here, but I actually think she deserves this tier. This could change though. I haven't actually used this character, but she is an animo unit. She can use VV. She has defensive utility, but we don't need to get into the weeds of why exactly right now. I don't think she's quite as relevant as Sucrose or anything. So there you have it. This is
I
my
agree
ranking.
she's not as relevant as Sucrose, but like, I don't think you need to be as relevant. Like, neither is Yao Yao, you know? I think Lanyon deserves that tier. Anyways. Okay, business. Begging. What's that about? No. Hmm. Let's get wait, chat. Maybe all of the insults that I gave you guys are gonna finally kick in and make me get an insane artifact here. Maybe I need to wish harm upon you as well. Maybe the reason why it didn't work earlier is because I wasn't harsh enough. I hope you have an accident on your way to your family dinner for Christmas. And by accident, I mean a bathroom accident. I hope you shit your pants. Yeah, that's right. That's worse. Yeah, I know. I know that's worse. The Jeff Foul Legacy form? More like Chat Foul Odor form, am I right? Okay, it didn't work. Fine, okay. Chat, why are burpees called burpees? didn't know. I've been wondering about that. Like, does it make you burp? They do? Am I doing them wrong? They don't make me burp. The exercise is called a burpee after its creator, Royal H. Burpee. That name is like just ridiculous enough that I can't tell if it's real or not. Like if it was John Burpee, I know it's a joke. If it was like Stephen Burpee, I'd believe you. Royal H. Burpee is like just on the edge. I don't know. I can't tell. I cannot tell. No clue. I don't want to look it up though. I'd prefer to live in this limbo. I want to stay in limbo, and I'm not talking about Limbo Sauce Genshin Impact content creator. I promise. Okay? It's anyways. Joseph Zajef made the channel Zajef77 in 1877. That is true. Back-to-back react with TGS. What did TGS post? The fuck did he do? Everything you need to know about Citlali. I don't want to watch just a basic guide video. I'm good. Okay, chat, let's watch this. Wait, what is it called? Cherries something? Cherries Snow-Laden Hutao. Alright, chat, again, right? I will reiterate my take from the live stream, alright? This does not suit her at all. It just really doesn't. Okay? Why not? Hutao's, like, playfulness in her characterization is a lot less about being frivolous and more about kind of using it as a coping mechanism in a way. And this fit is giving me vibes that are like more frivolous. Like, it's too light. Like, it's too... It looks like the sort of stuff that, like, Charlotte would wear. You know? Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad skin or that it looks bad. I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks fine. And like, I don't have an actual problem with it. I just feel like it doesn't suit her. I also think the glasses kind of ruin it. Like, the fit as a whole doesn't suit her personality, but then on top of that, the glasses don't fit the fit. This fit, on the other hand, this is probably
Check out my Globa
the best skin we've ever had. What a fire fit. Holy fuck. This is so perfect. This is actually such a good skin. Yeah, it suits her incredibly well, and it's so cute.
Pointers?
It's free, right? Yeah, and it's free! Yeah, that's actually true. I think that in order to make it, like, truly perfect, they need to give Guoba a Santa hat. But, I mean, hey, or at least, like, a beanie. Like a nice little hat. With a pom-pom on top. It's not a Christmas thing. Yeah, that's why I said, or at least like a beanie with a pompon on top. Why does Hu Tao need sunglasses? I don't know. Although I will say, the winter sun reflected on the snow when the like top layer of the snow is like a little watery or like icy is actually like completely blinding. Like, I have the thing, like the photosensitive gene or whatever that makes me sneeze when I look at bright lights. And I remember in elementary school when we'd go for recess in the winter, I would spend the whole 15-minute recess sneezing because of the light. I've gotten a bunch of fucking what do you sunburns on my face in the winter. Like it's fucking it can be rough. So like I don't mind the idea of sunglasses. I just think that the look of those sunglasses does not suit the rest of the fit. These are summer sunglasses. They're not winter sunglasses. Like they're beach sunglasses. Like specifically. The like shading, the way that it like goes from dark at the top to like less dark at the bottom. Like this is exactly this looks like the sort of sunglasses that you'd wear at the beach. It does not suit an outfit like this one. Leo's geography is nonsensical. Chenyu Vale is more north and it's humid as fuck. Climate, there's no cold, snowy air. I mean, we don't know for a fact that Tivat is round. Like spherical, do we? And even if it were, we don't know that it has the same sort of like space physics as here. Is it actually orbiting around a star? What if it's orbiting around something else? What about the revolutions? Are they constant? Are there a bunch of external forces that fuck things up? Who knows? Who knows? Plus, I feel like any like climate inconsistencies in Tivat can be pretty easily shrugged off and explained away with the flow of the ley lines is causing this phenomenon. Because ley lines causing physical phenomenon is a thing that happens a lot in Tivat. And so ley lines being used as an explanation for abnormal weather, I think is completely normal. Like it's very, it would be very, very like, it would make sense in universe. Is it a little lazy of an explanation? Sure. But like, I don't think it's reasonable to expect companies to hire astronomers and meteorologists to make sure that the fictional climate of their fictional world is like properly respecting the laws of physics. Like I think that's probably asking a bit too much. I care, but it's fine, yeah. Moreover, it limits creativity. I don't think so. I actually did. I don't think that restrictions limit creativity. I think creativity is displayed differently when you're working within restrictions versus when you're working without them. But I don't think it's limited by restrictions. Because I don't think that the only way to display creativity is by doing something that's entirely different in every way. If anything, I think restrictions are a good motivator for creativity. Restrictions encourage creativity. Like, I watched a video essay recently on the state of anime, and it raised a point that I thought was really interesting, which was that the technological advancement in animation techniques have made it so that anime looks a lot more real, right? The sort of scenery, the sort of like animation that you'll see, it looks a lot more realistic now than it did 20 years ago. But in some ways, that prevents people from asking themselves, okay, should I style my anime differently? Link video, I don't remember which video it was. I don't remember what it was called or who made it. I just remember I agreed with the points. And when you look at, I mean, when you look at the sort of stuff that's like praised for its animation nowadays, a lot of it is working with, or is doing animation in ways that are a lot less realistic and that don't look as pretty. I think a great example of that is the first scene of the first episode of Dandadan. Like, objectively, looking at the quality of the, like, lines, looking at the detail, it's ugly. Right? I don't think anyone would argue otherwise. It is kind of ugly. But it's using those ways in which it's lacking to create a certain style. And to evoke a certain emotion within you using that style. Was it this video? What is What is this? Okay, whatever, man. Anyways, the point I was making is sometimes restrictions encourage creativity rather than preventing it. And it's...
Animation is a medium that has...
Yeah, I think it was this video. Wait, I think you're right. I think it was this video. My goat pay talks anime.
no theoretical bounds. Any story in any setting with any characters can be told. If you want to do a retelling of Hamlet, except every character is an animal, with lions being the primary focus, that's possible. Or maybe you want to retell Robin Hood, except everyone's an animal. Or maybe you want to do a buddy cop film, except one of the characters is a criminal, and they're also animals. Wait, I'm missing a trend here. The point is, theoretically, you can be incredibly creative with the types of stories you want to tell, and we're seeing that in animation constantly.
Link? Here's the link. We're not gonna watch all of it. We're just gonna watch a part of it.
But that creativity is not just expressed in the story, but also the presentation. In filmmaking, style can be prevalent. Some of the most famous directors of all time are known for their clear stylistic decisions. And animation isn't a tool that limits stylistic creativity, it does the opposite. Yet despite all of this, I feel like animation recently has moved to be more and more homogenous, prioritizing one specific goal: realistic beauty. I'm not here to criticize that pursuit, just highlight the fact that on a spectrum, as one side is pursued more and more, it creates a vacuum and demand on the other. My name is Pei, and today we're talking about the return of stylistic anime. There are very few mediums that I think have so successfully pulled off stylistic storytelling.
But yeah, I want to just skip to the part where he talks about the Dandadan opening scene.
Apparent right away. Take literally the first scene, for example. There's simple shading, crude lines, and single color tones. His metal earring doesn't glimmer at all. It's really simplistic, and then it's matched with this kick. It immediately sets an awesome tone for the rest of the show, and so far that's held up. It's such a breath of fresh air compared to so many of the other seasonal releases we've gotten recently, which by the way are very good. The characters in this show are a weird mix of really
Anyways, watch this video. Watch all of his videos. They're all so fucking good, by the way. Like, yeah, just go watch. Go watch. Okay, each business. Oh, also, okay, and here I want we're gonna talk a little bit about Dandadan. So spoilers for Dandadan. Here's your spoiler warning. Manga spoilers? No manga spoilers. Just I haven't read it. Okay. So first of all, no, I'm not logged in. Fuck. Okay, first of all, that's the first thing we gotta do, okay? First things first. Posted a comment on your profile. Okay, thanks. Okay, so let's talk about characters in Dandadan. I really like, I think, all of the characters in Dandadan. I think every major character in Dandadan is actually so likable. Even the ones that are likable because they're unlikable. I'm actually curious. Chat, in your opinion, out of the 6 major characters, so Momo, Okarun, Aira, Seiko, Turbo Granny, and Gigi, which one is the least likable of them? I'm actually curious. You mean likable as characters even though they're unlikable as people? I don't think they're even unlikable as people. Gigi? Okay, it seems like Gigi is the most popular one. I guess the least popular one. The one you guys like the least. Ida was a bit too arrogant and naive for me. those are indeed character flaws, but does the presence of those flaws make this character unenjoyable to watch? Like, the ways in which she's arrogant, in my opinion, enhance the story. Gigi and Ida compliment Momo and Okadun's character. Yeah, I agree. I think the main reason why I warmed up so quickly to Ida, and I already really like Gigi, is because their presence and their dynamics with Momo and Okadun force Okadun to grow. Ida's presence helps Okadun build confidence, and Gigi's presence forces him to capitalize on his confidence. Both of which are major motivations for him to grow as a person. But they're also incredibly flawed characters that have room to grow themselves. That's everyone in the cast? I mean, not necessarily. I don't think Seiko is a character that has room to grow. I don't think Turbo Granny is a character that has room to grow either. To be honest, I just get tired of the trope of how quickly she's obviously falling for Okadun. I don't think her crush on Okadun is compelling other than love triangle drama. But it's not love triangle drama. Because Okadun doesn't give a shit about her. Like, it's not really a love triangle. But it's for Momo that Ida is a drama. I mean, yes and no. Like, that's one plot point, and I feel like it doesn't feel like they're gonna hammer it in much more than this. Like, the misunderstanding was properly cleared up fairly quickly. And I think it was one of the best ways to show that Momo likes Okadun as well, without making her say something out of character. Her just outright admitting that she likes him, I think wouldn't be in character, because I think she's... I honestly think, to some extent, she's ashamed of liking him. That's the reading I have of the subtext. She likes him, but she's not sure that she should. He's objectively kind of a loser. He's an unpopular, bullied kid. And she's not. She's never been... like that, you know? So, I don't think she wants to admit to herself that she likes him. And a good way to show that she does like him, without having to have her either admit to anyone else, or even to herself that she does, is to have her get jealous like that. Isn't that his POV as well? What, for Okadun? No, I don't think with... Okadun likes Momo, but he's not really aware of it, kind of, but for a different reason. But, like, he kind of gets aware of it towards the end. But he doesn't realize that he likes her at the start because he doesn't have previous friendships to compare his relationship with Momo to. He's never been close to anyone, so he doesn't recognize the difference between platonic feelings and romantic ones. I feel like Momo also isn't 100% aware. Yeah. Momo is also kind of unaware. I think as of the last episode of season 1, Okunin is a lot more aware of his feelings than Momo is. Because of Gigi. Anyways, is there anything else I wanna do today? I don't think so. I think that's gonna be it for today. However, it's not the end of the Zajef content for the day. That's right! Sitlali pre-release! The Dawn of Melt. That's gonna be the title. Sitlali pre-release. As usual, if you can find it through YouTube directly, it helps more with the algorithm. If you're too lazy to do that, spell her name right this time. Yo. If you're too lazy to do that, here's a link. Make sure you go watch it, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye!